Hi, friend. My name is Emily, and you're listening to English in Ease, the space where English meets real life, and where your journey matters just as much as your grammar. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you found your way to this episode. And if you've been here before, you already know this isn't just about learning English, it's about learning how to live with English, in your voice, in your story, and at your own pace. So today, I want to take you back to a time when I wasn't confident, fluent, or even hopeful. Because my journey to fluent English didn't start with a great teacher or a powerful course. It started in silence. And honestly, it started with shame. I was 26 years old, sitting in the corner of a busy cafe in the middle of a foreign city I had just moved to. My laptop was open. I had my resume ready. My coffee was cold. And I had just walked out of a job interview where I completely blanked. In English. It wasn't my first time failing to speak clearly, but it was the first time it really hurt. I remember looking down at my hands, feeling this deep, quiet embarrassment, not because I didn't know English, but because I had studied it for years. Years. And still when someone asked me, "So tell me about yourself," I froze. I smiled. I nodded. But I couldn't speak. My brain raced with words. My mouth said nothing. That afternoon, I walked back to my tiny apartment with one thought echoing in my head. I know English. Why can't I speak it? Maybe you've asked yourself that too. And if you have, I want to tell you something right now. Before we go any further, you're not broken, you're not lazy, and you're definitely not alone. That day was my low point, but it was also the beginning of something else. Something I didn't see coming. Because that night, I took out my journal and wrote one simple sentence that would become a turning point. I don't want to feel afraid of English anymore. And then I added another sentence. Not as pretty, but more honest. I just want to feel normal when I speak. That's all I wanted, not perfection. Just comfort. Just ease. And that became the seed for what I now call my 7 daily habits for fluent English. I didn't invent these in a lab. I didn't read about them in a fancy book. I lived them. I built them out of desperation, one at a time, on days when I had no motivation and zero confidence. I built them to survive. And eventually, they helped me thrive. So today, I want to share them with you not as a teacher, but as a friend. Someone who gets it. Someone who knows how it feels to sit in silence while the words inside you get trapped by fear. And that starts with habit number 1. But before I tell you the what, let me tell you the why. A few days after that failed interview, I started doing something strange. Every morning, while brushing my teeth, I'd say one sentence in English out loud. No mirror, no script, just one sentence. Something like, "Today is going to be hard, but I'm still trying." Or, "I feel stupid speaking like this, but I'm still speaking." It was awkward. It was weird, but it was mine. And that's where habit number 1 was born. Create one small English moment every day, just for you. Not for work, not for tests, not for Instagram, just for you, for your voice, for your sense of self. When I look back, I think that was the most powerful shift in my journey. I stopped waiting for the right time to use English. I stopped measuring fluency by tests or certificates. Instead, I created space in my actual life where English was allowed to exist, quietly, gently, imperfectly. And that space, that 5-minute moment, it became a doorway. Suddenly, I was more willing to think in English while walking to the bus. I found myself muttering phrases under my breath at the grocery store. I started noticing how I felt when I used English, not just what I said. And here's the truth. Fluency isn't just what you say, it's how safe you feel saying it. That's why your daily habit doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be yours. So if you're listening to me now, and you've been telling yourself, "I'm too busy," or I don't have the environment, or I don't know where to start. Let me say this gently but clearly. You don't need a classroom. You need a rhythm. You don't need permission. You need a moment. Just one. Every day. Before I end this first part, I want to leave you with a reflection. I know what it feels like to want to speak English and feel like your voice betrays you. I know the shame. I know the fear. I know the long nights of practicing lines in your head and then saying nothing when the moment comes. But I also know this. You are not behind. You are just beginning. And beginnings are quiet, awkward, sometimes invisible, but they matter. So, let's start small. Let's start with just one moment today, even right now. As you're listening, maybe whisper something in English to yourself. Anything. I'm listening. I'm here. I'm learning how to be brave. If you can say that, your journey has already begun. So, we started with just one daily English moment, one whisper, one honest sentence to yourself. It sounds small, right? But that one small action done every single day began to change something inside me. It was like I'd opened a window in a room that had been locked for years. And once that air came in, I wanted more. More space. More light. More language. So I moved to habit number 2, but not because I was confident. I was still scared. Still hesitant. But curious. And that curiosity led me to something unexpected. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was walking home from the metro station when I passed this bookstore I'd never noticed before. Something about it pulled me in. Maybe it was the silence inside, or the smell of paper. But I wandered to the language section and found a little book called Shadowing for Language Learners. I didn't even know what that meant. Shadowing. But I flipped through it and one sentence caught my eye. To speak fluently, you must first learn to echo life. That sentence sat with me. I didn't buy the book. But that night, I went home and searched how to shadow English audio. I ended up watching a video where someone was listening to short clips and repeating every sentence right after it out loud, without pausing, like a shadow following the speaker's voice. And just like that, I found my second habit. Habit number 2, shadow native English daily, even just 1 minute. I started simple, a short TED Talk, one sentence at a time. I'd play a sentence, listen, repeat. Not perfectly, but out loud. It felt weird, like I was mimicking someone, but slowly, I noticed something incredible. The rhythm of English, the tone, the pause. It started living inside my own mouth. I wasn't studying pronunciation, I was absorbing it. I wasn't memorizing intonation, I was feeling it. And I want to pause here to tell you something important. If you've ever felt like your English sounds too flat, too robotic, too unlike your real self, shadowing might change everything for you. Because when you shadow, you're not just copying words, you're training your muscles, your memory, your rhythm. You're syncing your mouth to a language that once lived only in your head. And the beautiful part, you don't need to be perfect. In fact, perfection ruins shadowing. Shadowing is messy. It's full of stumbles. But those stumbles are magic. So start small. Choose a speaker you like. Pick 30 seconds. Listen. Speak. Again and again. That's how my voice began to change. The third habit came a little later on a day when I didn't feel like doing anything. I was tired. Work was overwhelming. I skipped my shadowing. But while I was making dinner, I found myself doing something strange. I was speaking to myself in English, just narrating random things. I think I need more garlic. Oops. That's too much oil. I don't know why I'm so tired today. And I laughed, because it felt silly, but it also felt easy, natural. And that's how habit number 3 was born. Talk to yourself in English while doing daily tasks. I'm serious. This habit is underrated. Because when you speak to yourself, no one is judging you. There's no fear, No grammar anxiety. It's just your thoughts, becoming your words. I started doing it while cooking, folding laundry, walking to the store, and I began to notice patterns in the way I spoke, where I got stuck, what vocabulary I repeated. It became my real-life fluency mirror, and I want you to try this. Right now, look around your space. Can you describe something out loud in English? Just one sentence. Go ahead. I'll wait. See, it doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be honest. And while I'm here, can I tell you something vulnerable? There were days when I hated my voice in English. It sounded too soft, too hesitant, too foreign. But these little moments, these self-talk rituals helped me make peace with that voice, because it was mine, and it was trying, and that was enough. Which brings me to habit number 4, and this one isn't about speaking, it's about listening. Deeply. Habit number 4, listen to English like a human, not a student. I know. You've probably heard this before, but let me explain what I mean. Most learners listen to English trying to understand everything, every word, every detail, every sentence. And when they miss something, they feel like they've failed. But native speakers miss words too. That's not failure. That's normal. So I changed the way I listened. I gave myself permission to not understand everything. Instead, I asked myself, what's the emotion here? What's the main point? What's the energy in their voice? And slowly, my ears became more free, not perfect, but alive. I remember one Sunday morning, I was lying in bed, listening to a podcast while staring at the ceiling. I didn't take notes. I didn't pause. I just listened. And for the first time, I caught the feeling behind the speaker's voice. And I smiled, because that was new. That was fluency, not in grammar, but in connection. That's when I realized fluency isn't about understanding every word. It's about not panicking when you don't. So here's a little challenge for you today. Choose one video or podcast. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Just listen. Don't pause. Don't translate. Just let the words wash over you. It's okay if you miss half of it. What matters is, your brain is learning how to swim in the sound. Before I end part 2, I want to remind you of something I wish someone had told me. You don't need big wins to become fluent. You need small, honest, repeated moments. Moments where you try. Moments where you fail. And moments where you keep going anyway. That's what fluency is made of. You already have everything you need. You just need to build a rhythm that belongs to you. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, what will your English moment be? Will you shadow a video? Talk to yourself while tying your shoes? Whisper one sentence into the mirror. Whatever it is, make it real. Make it daily. And I promise, it will change everything. When I look back now, it still amazes me how small things, quiet, humble, barely noticed things built the voice I'm using to speak to you today. Not magic, not talent, just tiny acts of consistency. I didn't wake up one morning fluent, but I did wake up one day and realize I no longer feared my own English, and that was everything. So far, I've shared 4 habits that changed my relationship with English. Creating one English moment a day, shadowing native speakers regularly, talking to myself during daily tasks, listening like a human, not a student. But the last 3 habits, they came during a season when I wasn't just learning English. I was living through it. Let me take you back. I had started freelancing remotely. That meant working with clients from around the world, most of them in English. And one day, I received a voice message from a new client with last-minute feedback. I had to reply, quickly, in English, with confidence. And I froze. But not because I didn't know what to say. This time, I froze because I was scared of sounding unprofessional. Then I remembered something I had read once in a book. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That hit me. So I created my own system, a structure I could rely on when I panicked. It was simple. I wrote down 5 go-to English phrases I could use in almost any situation. Phrases like, "Let me double-check and get back to you shortly." "Thanks for your patience, I'm working on it now." "I completely understand your point, and here's what I suggest." That's when I developed habit number 5: build a personal phrase bank of sentences you actually use. These weren't textbook examples. They were mine. They reflected my tone, my work, my personality. And friend, having that list changed everything. Because when my anxiety kicked in, I didn't go blank. I went to my list. And I want you to have one too. Take 10 minutes this week. Think about the situations you face most: work, school, family, travel. And write down 5 to 10 sentences you often want to say, but struggle to. Make them yours. Practice them daily. Say them out loud. They will become your anchors when fluency feels far away. Now, habit number 6 came from a much softer place. One evening, I was journaling, something I do often, but instead of writing in my native language, I tried writing just 1 page in English. I didn't edit. I didn't care about mistakes. I just let my thoughts flow. And something beautiful happened. I realized I could feel in English, not just think, feel. And that's when I found habit number 6. Write to yourself in English, messy, emotional, real. Not essays, not homework, just reflections, questions, doubts, gratitude. Some nights I wrote things like, "I'm scared I won't ever be fluent." Other nights, "I'm proud of how I handled that meeting today." It became therapy. And slowly, the gap between my inner voice and my English voice began to close. If you've ever felt like English is something outside of you, something you wear like a coat instead of something that lives in your skin, then this habit is for you. Because when you write to yourself in English, you give your emotions permission to exist in the language you're learning. And that's when fluency becomes wholeness. Now, we're at the final habit, and I saved this one for last because it's the one I resisted the most. You ready? Habit number 7. Celebrate small wins out loud. On purpose. I know. It sounds cheesy. But here's the truth. Language learners are often their own worst critics. We notice every mistake. We forget every success. So I started doing something awkward but powerful. Every Friday, I would speak out loud, 1 sentence. This week, I spoke English with courage. Some weeks, I didn't feel it, but I said it anyway. Other times, I'd celebrate something tiny like answering the phone without hesitation, or understanding a joke on a podcast, or ordering coffee confidently. And you know what happened? My brain began to associate English with progress, not pressure. And that shift made me keep going on the hard days, the slow weeks, the messy moments. So now, dear friend, let me ask you something. What will you celebrate this week? Not what was perfect, not what sounded native, but what felt brave. Maybe it was speaking up in a meeting. Maybe it was saying hello to a stranger. Maybe it was just showing up and listening to this podcast. Whatever it was, say it. Own it. Let it matter. Because it does matter. Your effort matters. Your voice matters. Before I end this episode, I want to leave you with something soft. Something I wrote to myself in a journal years ago, on a night when I felt small and tired and unsure if I'd ever be fluent. Even on the days when I feel silent, I am still moving forward. My voice is not broken. It's just learning how to rise. And today, if you're listening to me and wondering if your voice will ever rise, too, I want you to know it will. Not all at once, not perfectly, but steadily. With every whispered sentence, with every English moment you choose, with every habit you repeat. Not for a test, but for yourself. Let me recap for you. These were my 7 daily habits for fluent English. 1 English moment a day. Shadow native English. Talk to yourself during daily tasks. Listen without fear of missing. Build your phrase bank. Write to yourself honestly. Celebrate small wins out loud. None of these require a perfect accent. None require hours of study. They only ask one thing: your presence. So take what feels right, leave what doesn't, and build your fluency not for the world, but for you. You deserve to speak freely. You deserve to feel at home in your second language. And you deserve to love your English voice even if it's still growing. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'm Emily. This is English in Ease. And I'll see you same place, same voice in the next episode. Until then, keep speaking, keep showing up, and don't forget, your English doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. You are already becoming fluent, one honest moment at a time.